Welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is the English news with me, Shazab Delbey. Houthi militia continues to be a major source of instability in Yemen and the region. It's time for the international community to come together and take decisive steps to the Houthis' aggressive behavior. This was highlighted by Lana Nusayib, permanent representative of the United Arab Emirates to the United Nations, in the Security Council in response to the UN Envoy new framework announced during the same meeting last Tuesday. This report has more details.
Ending the war requires concessions and uncomfortable compromises. The UN Special Envoy for Yemen, Hans Grunberg, said this in his last briefing before the UN Security Council last Tuesday. There is a way out of the war, he added. However, Yemenis haven't seen yet that way out so far. Perhaps the way out of war, according to Grunberg, lies in the new framework that he revealed before the UN Security Council.
To this end, I am developing a framework that will set out my plan to move towards an inclusive political settlement, including the establishment of a multi-track process. Through this process, the warring sides' interests can be addressed within the context of a broader Yemeni agenda, along the three tracks of political, security and economic matters.
Grunberg considered this a real opportunity for Yemenis parties to chart a peaceful way forward. Yet, what Grunberg considers a real opportunity for peace doesn't seem to have been shared by some other council members.
What we have listened to today affirms the failure of the UN-led political process. The UN should adopt a more realistic and firm stance against the Houthi militia, whose military escalation blocks any efforts to end the Yemeni conflict. Over the past month, we have heard numerous briefings, including from UN Special Envoy Hans Grunberg, calling on us to give him an opportunity for his efforts to bring the Houthis back to the negotiation table. However, after the UAE civilian infrastructure was subjected to terrorist attacks that claimed the lives of innocent civilians, we can only ask, when will the appeasement of this terrorist group end?
Perhaps the UN envoy would have never expected that his very new framework he said he is developing would receive an instant criticism right from the start and from a council member and in the same meeting. It was thought he would defend his new framework in the same enthusiasm he announced it. But nothing happened. Not away from that meeting hall, Grunberg was giving another chance to defend the bitter criticism by the Emirati ambassador Lana Nusayib, not only of his new framework, but the UN approach to Houthis as a whole.
Special Envoy, there was strong criticism of you from the ambassador of the United Arab Emirates. She said in the council that what she'd heard was the continued failure of the political process under the leadership of the UN to deal realistically and firmly with the continuously intransigent position of the Houthi militias. She then ended her comments with these words: "We can only ask Mr. Grunberg, when will the appeasement of this terrorist group end?" What is your reaction to her?
It's not my position to hear from this podium start discussing what members of the council mean and doesn't mean on this.
Once again, Grunberg failed to defend his framework. Did he mean to be over-diplomatic as part of his job as a diplomat, or that is an established UN approach that the prestigious organization resorts to when faced with criticism? If the latter is correct, then appeasement of Houthi militia is a fatal mistake. At this point, the UN envoy may be reminded that it is with this clear-eyed attitude Houthis should be faced, and that if he is to be different from previous envoys, then harnessing positions of strength, not appeasement, should be the way forward. The past few years have provided enough evidence that Houthis are not interested in a rules-based international order. Thus, for those working on bringing Yemen back into that fold, stronger approaches of the kind being advocated by the UAE and its regional allies will be needed.